Greetings everyone on YouTube and welcome to this content creator interview video with me, Kemsit, of course. And today we're back in Age of Empires 2 after we had two pleasant Age of Mythology retold content creators interview. One with Dark Antos recently and one with Mr. Mobile. So for those who've not checked it out, please do, because it means a lot to me, and it also offers a little bit of different perspectives, also encouragement, inspiration, their opinions regarding the game and mine too, to also mention. And there's also some behind scenes things going on there. But yeah, what we're gonna do, we're gonna definitely try to continue on with this, and today we're gonna be doing an interview with Ilam. He's not here in voice or so, but he has answered the questions through a message to me via mail, and I'm gonna be reading them out and act as if there's an interview, and we're gonna be talking a little bit. And I'll try to see if I can also this time also post this down into the comment section below. Either way, just feel free to take heed of my voice as we're gonna go. So even when you're playing or just studying, feel free to keep this video on the background as we're gonna chat through. Because Ilam, as you guys can see, has made quite a few campaigns, especially in the Chinese community. It is very well done, and it's quite old that it has been going on, like for like more than 3, 4, 5 years. He has been going on, and there's quite a few English campaigns. And if you're gonna ask me, hey Kemsit, which campaign did you like from him? Well, for me it was definitely Harald Hardrada, which is this one. I definitely enjoyed that one for sure, and to my view, it has also been received well within the English part of the community for him, so it's definitely very good. I think it is also because Harald Hardrada is quite a very known person too. That's why people try to go for it. And it's quite a very old of his campaign. That's why I think it is also very subscribed and been receiving that kind of attention. But with that said, let's continue with our first question. The first question: what sparked your interest in creating custom campaigns or scenarios? Was there a particular game or moment that hooked you, or a certain historical figure, perhaps community, that inspired you? Now, this is what he has answered. Ilam said, my journey began in my kindergarten period that my father bought the game, and as usual played all night. He recalled that I was so quiet to watch his playthrough before I go sleep. Truly, I really enjoyed the sounds of the game, events since then, though I do not know what the heck the computer was showing to me. I think that there are multiple factors that drive me to learn and create my campaigns. My father's playthrough obviously piqued my interest on the game. When I grew up while on the primary school period, I started learning the editor by randomly placing units, natural resources, and kind of things like that. Then I tried to make some own campaigns for entertaining myself and be satisfied and fulfilled. And that's definitely a big interesting thing, and something similar that Sargoto has also experienced, which is definitely nice. And to also hear that there's like such big nostalgia connections, be it with the family or the sounds, or as you can see how his playthrough the campaigns, I assume. And it's really nice that you just jump in right away to make things. It is something that many of the current content creators has also inspired everyone. Like, guys, if you want to make something, jump in it, be curious, cook something up, and enjoy the food, even if it's like either too salty or too spiced. Just try it out, and after that you can always adjust it, of course, if you want to. With that said, let's go on to the second question. Where do you find most inspirations from? Perhaps certain games or books, movies, or real life events. Now he says this: I think all of the options can inspire me. Since I dive into learning history, especially the medieval period, I love spending more time in historical content as well as making like-minded friends through the games. They now even keep sharing experiences and exchange suggestions with me as well. For example, when starting a new campaign design like selection of civilizations, main characters, they will give me advice that who can be the best option in history. As they're knowledgeable on history sometimes, wiki also can be a good option for me. I definitely agree with that. through my entire adventure as well, playing through these custom campaigns, I've definitely enjoyed seeing what kind of people that you all have been portraying, and how you've portrayed it. And it's definitely interesting, be they historically accurate or not, or the stories that you just, you know, cooked around with, which is still very good. But then again, this is something I definitely find interesting, something that Black Knight also has mentioned. Not all historical events are accurate, and Wiki can definitely help with that, but even that can be a bit of inaccuracy too. But then again, I respect that, and it's still something nice to hear regarding a perspective. Um, the next question is, can you tell us about one of your favorite campaigns? Now, this is what he said. I love those unique and creative designs or of some custom campaigns I had played. Like those are the side objectives or the part of the main one. The most favorite one is that the design that can determine different gameplay experiences by player himself, like decisions since the Chronicles and Three Kingdoms. But the scenarios only. The one I made was the last mission of Ivan III. Convert nobles to make more alliances as long as you can. Of course, obviously, doing so is also a challenge that you have to face the threat more enemies that they will do so as well. I mean, competitive, more conversions make you face less pressure, or you choose not to convert any, but you will receive some supplies by trigger for the most challenging situation. I definitely agree with that. I think I remembered that mission too from Ivan III. I don't know where it is. Here. Ivan III of Russia. But it is definitely some nice, interesting thing to have, because, like you've mentioned, even in Chronicles series from Battle for Greece and Alexander, there was such kind of similar situations too. And I definitely love that. And it's something that I heavily would implement into games as well. To also mention that you're not sticked around with constantly build and destroy situation too, right? Because you have the choice to either destroy that city, gather all their supplies, and move on. Basically, like you're plundering it, or you turn them into a vassal state or a tributary, and you get, be it goods or just military help. It is always nice to have such kind of situation. This leads to that diplomatic situation. It is always, so I also say that there's always not always, there's many lacks of interactive AI, be it with allies or enemies that they clash together along or against you, which will be nice because this makes it a nice strategy. Or, like I've always, praised, the Alexander the campaign of the City in the World's Edge is also a very great campaign scenario where you literally just build up a nice little city. Like, it is still strategy, right? Because you're building a city in a land that you've just recently conquered. And that is great. That shows that you're actually dedicated to stay here, to leave a legacy, to make this place a part of your empire. And even though Alexander has received a lot of criticism, be it from those he was commanding or those who, he invaded. And that's such a natural thing, and it's still amazing to see. In the Three Kingdoms, I don't really see that much, and like I said, I don't like that custom campaign, but I can respect the opinion, of course. For question 4, what is your most favorite campaign from the classics? He said, perhaps Attila. So I guess he is quite conflicted with which one is his opinion, but I think Attila is also a quite good campaign. But this is what he also said: Huns do need houses. He said, haha, the population is also high compared with others. Mostly have just 75 before the DE version. I think I remember that there was such situation, I think, as well. Even maybe in the Forgotten Empires, even before that, I think. I'm not sure. I don't remember much, but if you remember that, that's just amazing. But we're going to move to the next question, which is question 5. What is your most favorite custom campaign and or scenario? And it can be your own or that of someone else. Now he says, I love Harold Hardrada the most. I honestly, like, I agree. That is what I've also mentioned. And as we can see here from the downloads, there's like more than 6K for the English version. But if we're going to look for the Chinese version, it is a 19 plus K, which is like top 5 within the Chinese community. It seems they definitely enjoyed the Ivan III of Russia campaign, which again, in my opinion, explains a lot too, because just as you've suggested, your campaigns can definitely offer a lot of slice of life, as we can call it. Because, like you said, you're playing an historical figure, right? You offer historical accuracy, which is important, in my opinion. But you also want to offer the player uh, choices to make, because you're literally just jumping in that person's, you know, shoes, and you try to do as best as you can for that community or so, that they're living in. And in this case, it was just Russia or so. So yeah, and yeah, Harald Hardrada with his Vikings brethren, or well, the Norwegian people and all that. So yeah, we're gonna move to what he said further. He says this. He's definitely a great hero and king during his whole life. Truly a legendary person. It is also my first try on designing different decisions with a scenario. Viking legends and a myth are always impressive for players. If in future there will be a Viking DLC, I will remaster it after its release. Honestly, this is something I've highly encouraged and spoke with as well, and really find it important that even though the competitive side is not happy that there's constantly more DLCs coming with different civilizations, because that means a lot more different strategies, and again, more civilizations to keep in mind. I'm sorry, but you'll have to deal with that, in my opinion, because there's so many civilizations that can still be added and should be added to represent everyone's local thing, because this is what Age of Empires is known about. The diversity that is present. The only thing that I will agree is that the way that it's balanced, and that at times it simply does not feel very unique, and that's the big problem here, in my opinion. And that is something that will go throughout the time, especially still, for my opinion, the Last Chieftains 3 factions are still not well balanced and blending in the Age of Empires 2 community, be it the Topi, the Mapuche, or what was the other one called? Topi, Mapuche, and well, not the Incas, because they were just reworked. Um, Hold on, I forgot their name. I'm definitely checking them out here right away. um, yeah, hold on, guys. Pardon me for this. The Muisca. Sorry, there we go. But yeah, these 3 factions are still not very well blended and all that. But yeah, I definitely liked them. The units and all that diversity, the overall on the thing is definitely cool. And the flags, even though not all civilizations have their own flag, which is kind of saddening and something that should be done, because it offers them some nice slice of life and beautifies the game even more. And that is what I definitely would like to encourage. Um, yeah, I hope it will be a new DLC for a Viking. But then again, instead of Viking, like Spirit of the Law has mentioned, it is a job, it's not an ethnicity. And that, for example, Norway be a place or a civilization, Denmark, Sweden, and for example, the Sapmi people and the Finns to also have their own civilization present as well, because that is what I really find very important to have and be represented, especially the main 3 Scandinavian nations, such as Sweden, Norway, and Denmark as well, because that will offer a lot of greatness too. Now we're going to move to the next questions. 6. What have been the most challenging moments in your journey as a custom campaign or scenario creator? How did you overcome them? Obviously, always the objective with all of those its relative triggers would occur unexpected bugs and no effects after taking a couple of hours or days. I have to face the game crashes for every time I test it, and have to restart the game, but still can't find out what makes it happen. This happened in almost 200 trigger scenarios. I have to delete like 20 or 30 triggers to see if one of them is the trouble maker for me. Finally, I got it. It was the ownership changing after about 20 times restarting the game and testing. Holy shit at that time. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's definitely a big pain in the ass. Oh man, I'm sorry that you went through that. But hey, I do gotta praise you though. You have definitely not stopped trying through, and you definitely did good. So keep it up, honestly. Your work definitely appreciates us, and honestly, it is going very well so far. And please keep up with the custom campaign scenario creations, especially with Harald Hadrada campaigns like and Ivan the Third. Moving on to the next question. Question 7. Have you collaborated with other creators? If yes, what tips would you give for successful in partnership in the community? If no, would you be up for collaborations? Now he says yes. I have collaborated with some creators, even some who are not skilled at triggers, but history. As I said, they gave me advice or assistance on intro and outro, which battle in a scenario details of opponents. Blah blah blah. The most important factor to make it success is communication and sharing skills. If you are a skilled editor, but someone is not skilled as you, but can give you better advice, you can talk, exchange your opinions to find out a good option that both designers can completely understand. Also, sharing anything new you found for every DLC or minor updates or to others in the groups or community to make your collaborations face less barriers on triggers or anything else, saving more time on unnecessary steps to help you and anyone you know work much more efficient. Now, I definitely agree with that. It is definitely a good intake, and I'm very glad that you have had quite a lot of friends who've been able to share you some opinions and thoughts, um, even if they're like skilled compared to you within one, you know, way, be it like the editor or so, or history, for example. And that is just what creates great partnerships and all that. Like you said, communication is here great, and this is what I've also said many times as well, guys. Make sure you do that. Um, and if there's a situation where you both disagree, then simply agree to disagree and simply move on and see how it goes from there. Question 8. What advice would you give to someone who just started out in a custom campaign scenario creation? He said copy and paste. I'm not kidding. Learning from other campaigns is always the best way to make your own design. Joining a community or a group of creators for better learning, building the story style is always good and easy for the first time to try. I agree, but I will say though, don't constantly do this and try something out yourself too, because in my opinion, it will discourage current creators from making new things. Um, which in my opinion will be big. It's not a big issue, but it's something that is just really saddening when it happens and all. And of course, that creators should not really pay too much in mind. They should just still make a campaign as well to contest the one that the newcomers makes. Overall, I would definitely still say just jump in and make something for yourself, as many other creators have mentioned too. This is also a good take, of course, because you will still learn how to do things too, even if most of the basic layers will be implemented for you. So definitely try something out as well. And in my opinion, we already have quite a few of those within the community, but it can tend to be very taxing and very, saddening to have. So yeah. But we're moving on to the next question, which is question 9. When you design a scenario or campaign, what comes first for you, gameplay wise? Challenge, storytelling, historical accuracy, or fun, and why? He says this. I guess the why is challenged sometimes. I find out that some campaigns are released to the public, but without proper test. Some even would like to challenge players, taking wait, what? But without proper testing, some even would like to challenge players, taking it taking it for granted, like endless spamming units on map edges, cheating for a large amount of resources for AI limit players, controlled area or resources together, and making unreasonable early assaults as hard or even legendary difficulty. we are playing games, right? Not to be a real pro versus campaign designer, right? I always consider the overall difficulty of a scenario or a small challenge from player's perspective to see if it is reasonable for different kind of players. Now, this definitely I agree. Like you've also said too, we're playing in campaign. We're not pro players and all that. We're not trying to go versus the you are yourself as a creator, and we don't like the spam AI, and we don't want to cheat because that's just pointless. That just throws like a big I don't know, teriyaki sauce in a large amount, which is not very good, on a food, right? And that's just not appreciated, right? And that's why I personally despise it. But at times you are left with no choice and you just skip through the campaigns and check it out, and you're like, okay, well, here's here. And that is why after that you should always feel free to let the creator know, like, hey dude, this is a little bit insane, please try to adjust it. And then it's up to the creator if they want to adjust it or not. And for that we respect it, because I've had plenty of people who were willing and plenty of people who did not, and for those it's up to them. But it's still a pity because their stories are very great, and I can mention many, but I'm not gonna bother because I've already done so in the past. What tools, triggers, or editor features do you rely on most, and which ones do you wish were improved? As always, since it was released before release was modified attributes indeed. Essex first give you an easy way to set a floating value to a unit attribution, resources, and calculations. Before it was born, it was a disaster that you have to integrate arithmetic to get the decimal number one by one. For example, if you want to set a 0.5, you got to set the attribute's value to 1, then add one more trigger, affected by dividing it by 2. If you want multiple attributes to be set, that will be truly a disaster for a designer. I don't know what Essex is, but from what you've laid out to me as an answer, that already confuses me, so I can only imagine how confusing it must be for you. And yeah, I can think everyone here who hears this has a big empathy too, and it must definitely be a disaster of a for the designer. Moving on to the next question: has player feedback ever made you rethink or redesign a scenario? And he says, and can you share as an example? He says, probably none, I think. In Chinese community, players would like to feedback some unreasonable designs or too difficult scenarios, giving advices that have less units of opponents, limiting kinds of enemy units they will train, making more friendly, like delaying more time of enemy first assault. These are essentials, I think, for most of the build and destroy campaigns. Players love to having a chance to communicate with the creator, and I am also evaluating the scenario of my own after every test as a normal player, not a god perspective creator himself. To make no such chances to player feedback, you like, hey, look what the heck you do for us. Yeah, that's true. I think that is very important, and I'm very glad that you also mentioned it, because honestly, no offense to the Chinese community, but there's plenty of those creators, even throughout the whole community, who agree and share this common view that there's just so many campaigns which feel just so frustrating and too challenging, because you're gonna have so many enemies coming at you right away that you do not really have any time or the resources to face them, or the proper start, because it's just insane which you come and face it at times. And especially if it's double the amount with numbers of AI that you're facing alone, because any player can only micromanage so much. Like it is already mentioned, even through the previous Wallalo tournament, people can manage a maximum of 3 or 2, 3, 4 group max, even to micro, because we're no robots. Because the AI, they can definitely do that, but we as humans, come on, be a bit more realistic. And that is a big issue, let alone as I always mention, like double up the 3 AI players against you yourself. You can only make like 200 population, and when most of the time you make like 100 population, at least for economy, the rest of the 100 has to be split up and try to face 3 AI who have 200 population, which is definitely going to be a big struggle. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, it has been also brought up to your attention, even from the Chinese community, which honestly, in my opinion, is a big surprise. Because honestly, at times I've sadly not been able to see if our words have taken a heed. But since you managed that you're still trying to do this and all that, I'm at least eased and hope that you will continue on doing so, and that the community keeps on offering you constructive feedback instead of whining feedback, because they are present there too, and that you'll do your continuous best as well. Like I said, I had a truly pleasure talking with you so far too, and doing this interview so far. As for the next question, how do you approach balancing the difficulty so a custom campaign and or scenario is challenging but still focus on the fun aspect for a wider audience? And he says, as the previous question I answered, I prefer to play as a normal player for evaluation of a scenario to see if the difficulty is too challenging for green hands or experienced. I always ensure the player can succeed with one of the single TC or castle for defense and offense as the minimum standard with the easiest difficulty. Also, pressure will be less with side objectives finished. That's the way to make the scenarios not that challenging, and make zone for players to have time to do preparations or more exploration to find unexpected surprises in the scenario. And that's another good take and all, because this is also something I always say as well, guys, make side objectives which are rewarding and helpful towards the ending, which is the main objective, right? Especially if we're going to make the campaigns very challenging, try to have the player give some more time to build up their bases and all that. If it's a build and destroy kind of mission, let them scout around, see and bewonder the map that you've given, right? Because this is how we often play these kind of scenarios. And even if it's not a build and destroy kind of scenario, offer different things, right? It's very more interesting and leaves people to still check out your map, find things. It's like squirreling around and wonder what you've set up. But if you're just gonna constantly make it build and destroy kind of scenario, it's just gonna be taxing, and it's just gonna become very boring and repetitive and not fun at all. And that also mentioned, topple it up with a challenge. People won't care about what you've created, especially not the map, because that is the least attention paid by the players on how it looks. Overall, it's just the playstyle, the historical figure that you represent, which they're very interesting. Your point of view, the attempt of trying to live in that character's boots, right? So I'm glad that we have quite a common ground over here too. So keep it up. The next question is, how do you think you've been doing with an Age of Empires 2 content creator community? And what would you like to tell your younger self if you had the chance? He says this, I always think myself as a not really normal creator, not that good, but also not that bad. Nothing sparks. And if some words to my younger self, I would say that do more campaigns and more campaigns if I can afford to, because free time I would have more energy and more creative ideas. Life always makes everyone sucks. I wholeheartedly agree with you, and this is something many of the content creators share in mutual opinion. So, yeah. Just take your time, Ilam. Whenever you can, feel free to drop out another custom campaign and or scenario. I'll gladly be able to touch it and show it to everyone, or anyone else could definitely enjoy and consume too. Moving on to the next question, how do you see Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition future? He says this, just continue their sales or DLC, because that is the only way that players and creators having more units, civilizations and more editor content. No one will refuse this, but the higher and higher purchase prices the game will have less and less active players as time goes by. That's the only way I see that keeps players motivating in games. Wait, what? Hold on. Let me rephrase that again. He says this, just continue their sale of a DLC, because that is the only way the players and creators can have more units, civilizations, and more editor content, which I wholeheartedly believe, because there's still so many lacking. And he says this, no one will refuse this, but the higher and higher purchase prices, the game will have less and less active players as time goes by. That's the only way I can see that can keep players motivated. Okay, now I get it. So this is what he says. DLCs are not bad, because this is a fact, especially from the competitive side of the community. They despise it through thick and thin, because many people say it's just cash grab, which honestly I understand, but at one side it is needed, not only to fund the creators behind it, be it the custom campaigns creator or those who are, trying to beautify the game and even more slice of life, but also for the services and every update as well. And without it, the game will not continue. So the more less pricey the games are, and the more less successful the DLCs are, the worse it's gonna become for those creators behind. They will obviously be, how should I say, taken by person, because this is something we do not see behind the scenery, but it is a fact, especially for me. I know this as someone who has worked with retail and also had close contact with many of those creators or developers as well. Many of them will be obviously held responsible, because you are taking the responsibility to create something out, and when it fails, obviously who's your boss gonna go to? Towards the creator. He's gonna get chastised, especially from the community. Most of the community will chastise the creator, so it is gonna be a lot stress for those, and I can only imagine I have sympathy and empathy for them. But at the same time, I will not stop myself from offering my own perspective, and that is that I will still say and offer constructive feedback, and it's just up to the creator if they want to take it and if they want to change it. And if they don't, well, too bad, that's just it then. And I'll still support the game by buying all the DLCs as well, especially since I'm someone who also tries to show how the game is for you guys, and also just try to enjoy it as much as I can, in hopes to support the game, because without it, this game will not keep on flourishing. And this game is a old but gold campaign game, and I still see a good future for this game, because it still has lots of competitive plays, lots of active custom campaign community too. So please keep this going, instead of trying to constantly, how should I say, criticize the DLCs as a cash grab, or just worsening the game, because it's not. The only thing that it's worsened is that sometimes, well, not sometimes, most of the time, still the balance is not fixed. And of course, what is also not fixed is most of the civilizations are not very unique, and of course, you can't really keep all those hundreds of civilization in your mind, of course, but it still offers a nice strategy, and this is a strategy game we should all be able to play one way and or another throughout it. But yeah, nonetheless, it is also very great to hear your opinion in this. Moving on to the next question. Question 15. If you could instantly change or add one feature to Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition scenario, what would it be? He says, force opening the objective page like the official campaign do at the beginning of the scenario. That's the one I do hope the developers can add to the games about 4 years ago. That's really an interesting take. I don't know what that does. But I think it will definitely try to help you a lot with the scenario, and I hope that will be changed too. As for question 6, are you currently working on any custom campaign or scenario, and are you willing to share some juicy information about it? Or would you rather keep it to yourself for now as you keep on cooking? Now he says this, now I play less time on creation of campaigns, but still going on that it is. The House of the Hot Wheels, all the scenarios are not repeated to the official campaign, and the campaign is chronicle-like style that one battle for one scenario or one hero on one scenario. I'm still working on it and not sure when will it release. It now contains 10 scenarios and takes a longer time than on any of my creations. Now that is very interesting because so far I can understand you're trying to make a Hot Wheels scenarios um, regarding with quite a very diverse missions. Like just like you said, it's gonna have a scenario with only a battles or a hero scenario, which is really interesting and very cool takes, of course, and that makes it really good. And I hope the storytelling is very very great too, because in my opinion, for me, the Hot Wheels. Let me just quickly look back over here. The Hot Wheels are quite the how should I say important, not only important figures but also very historically changing people. And let me just quickly look here. No, wait, this is the wrong one. Crap. Yeah, here. I think this is it. Yeah, correct. No, there we go. Um, like I said, the Hot Wheels are one of the most interesting history, and the campaign was really fun. I enjoyed it. Aside from Edward Longshanks and the Grand Dukes, because I find it just pretty basic, especially Edward Longshanks, especially the choice of how he's been represented there. Yeah, it was very minimum in my opinion. Same for the Grand Dukes of the West. Um, but then again, I would definitely put the Hotterfields on top one, and then take Grand Dukes, and then Edward Longshanks as last. The Sicilians, I don't really find them very unique in my opinion. It feels okay. The Burgundians, they're definitely very cool and all that, but yeah, I didn't really like it too much. But yeah, we're gonna move on, and I hope you'll be able to finish as soon as possible, because I definitely want to try it out and check it out, because the way that it sounds, it's quite some juicy information. So thank you very much. You already got me hyped up. As some question 17, is there something you'd like to say to the community? He says, everyone just do their best is fine. A person can do no influence to the community and like a normal person in this society. Honestly, I disagree, because you, as a person who has made so many of these custom campaigns and scenarios, you've definitely contributed to us, and that is already portraying that you're quite the nice influencer. Um, of course, there can be many different opinions about you, but I honestly think that you're quite fine compared to most of the custom campaigns creators hailing from the East, especially in China. So keep on doing what you're doing, and I'll definitely keep on playing your campaigns as well as much as I can. But do by all means pardon me if I've skipped them simply if they're just too difficult. So by all means, you're not just an average, normal person. Moving on to the question 18, is there a way people can contact you, like other content creators or those in the community who play your campaign and want to offer their thoughts, opinions with some constructive feedback, perhaps? He says this. Find me if you want through Discord. Now I play less and less time on a review of my old campaign. I welcome all thoughts unless reasonable ones. That is true. I think, if with your permission, I'll definitely leave your Discord name down in the comment section below for everyone who wants to offer constructive feedback and all that. But I think they can also leave one in your campaigns and all that. Even though the reasoning behind this question is because I definitely struggled to find you, and it's thanks to Black Knight that I've got touch with you. Which once again, I'm grateful to Black Knight and you for accepting this contact, and of course the interview overall. Moving on to next question. If someone considered playing one of your custom campaign or scenario in Age of Empires 2 DE, which one should it be and why? He says probably all by Philadelphia. Save your money life if you don't care the achievements before purchasing Victors and Vanquish. I wholeheartedly agree. Definitely go for it, and we'll see. Uh, you know, go for it for sure. because Philadelphia's custom campaigns were very great. I definitely did not like Victor's Vanquish because it's quite copy and paste. They were remade a little bit more badly as well, for sure, and all, and some voice acting, etc., etc. But honestly, I would have preferred something else. Honestly, it was just not my kind of Victor's Vanquish thing. It was still awesome. I had fun and all, but yeah, I don't agree with that. Moving on to question 70. Roughly how much time does it take you to create a full scenario campaign from idea to release? And he says this: if the scenario is simple, it can be finished with 1 month. If design are complicated, the longest I did take 3 months, of course. It does not include the time after its release for fixing bugs or optimization. Uh, that sounds quite quick. So far, many have said it can take quite a few months as well, but 3 months is very minimum, I think, or a month minimum too. But that sounds okay. That's really good, and I definitely understand that it will need a lot of optimization and all that too when it's released and there's a lot of bugs coming out or optimization is needed regarding the challengingness and all that. So yeah, but that's still good. That means you're quite efficient, in my opinion, too. Very great. Question 21. What keeps you motivated to keep creating, especially during long or difficult projects? He says this: I want to play, play, and play. Just create a semi-finished campaign and put there for what? If unplayable, why do I create this, right? Of course, initially, I want to share it to anyone if interested. Well, honestly, I definitely, like I said, I want to consume more of these custom campaigns and campaigns overall. See different perspective, get the feeling of those historical figures as well, and forget real life responsibilities as an adult and all that, and enjoy my time, make friends as we go through this too. But unfinished campaigns, yeah, depend on how unfinished. Honestly, that is something I have to be careful with, uh, because I don't really like it too much. But that's just my opinion, of course. But I definitely agree with your statement here. Moving on to the next question: have you ever knowingly bent or ignored history to make a scenario more fun? Where do you draw the line? Now he says you can see it to the campaign. The retreat after meeting with the Pope and was defeated in the Battle of Catalonian Plains. Many scenarios of the campaign end with triumph or player, but in history are lost. It is acceptable for me to do so. Many designs or side objectives are not relative to the real history. They just are something that players can pay attention to or to do for a successful ending of the scenario. The overall story or of the scenario is same to the real history is enough. The ways to achieve victory or finish objectives are the parts that designers can feel free to do their best. I agree. Like I said, even in a question, I don't mind if the rules are a little bit bent, but sorry for the yawn. But I personally would like to have a little bit of historical accuracy for sure, and a bit more storytelling as well. Like who was, what did he do, how did a battle ended? Like when you're gonna take the Catalonian plains, I don't mind if the slideshow shows like this is what happened, that is what is gonna be approaching, and then you as player get a bit of the feeling, not entirely 100 percentage, let's say something like 70 or 50 percentage, and then at the end of the slideshow it was a disaster, we lost the battle and all the blah blah blah, and then even though you yourself have won the game, for example. But these kind of things is something that we have seen through the classics campaign. This is something that has also made mention by, for example, Sir Godwa, Christophorus, and I think Ozzy too, and many others, even Broken Torpedo, I think. So, this is something we're livid for. Moving on to the next question, question 23. What was the single hardest thing for you to learn in a scenario editor? Linking everything together like Essex and editor, resources, attributes, AIs, and no easy understanding description by devs for a new feature. You gotta try it and test to find out how it works. Yeah, quit work. Honestly, that's such a pain, but you can definitely continue on. He says, have players ever solved or broken one of your scenarios in a way you didn't expect? He says, I always appreciate any unexpected way, like a speedrun, using game mechanics for more a zone for players to get success in a scenario. I never limit or by little how players to have their fun in a scenario to solve. Just do whatever they want, for example, like attacking enemies to anywhere to make the base out of threats, or in multiple phases scenarios, using the market setting low price, selling resources for gold before the next phase to obtain more resources while getting into the next phase by buying food or stone. That's really interesting, and honestly, I'm very glad that you all even encourage different everyone to play the game as they like, and you know, chemistry around, I guess. So that's a really good intake, in my opinion. The next question: what kind of feedback or recognition means the best you I hear as a creator, of course, useful recommendation or better design and better designs. There are the better in or wait. Of course, useful recommendation or better design. There are the best inspiration. Players do not know you've designed, but the creation himself knows. So I always welcome players' feedback, especially the useful ones to improve the gameplay and to avoid any unwanted or unexpected bugs. That's for sure. And I'm definitely glad once again that you're open for constructive feedback and you know, willing to improve the campaigns as well, because that's also important. It's something that I've also mentioned many times too, especially with campaigns regarding be it the East or around Europe, especially around the Netherlands, that you know I would like to have it improved too, because these are my most interest history and Rome too, or even you know the Three Kingdom series and all that. These have always fascinated me and all, and I've read quite a few books about it and all. But that doesn't mean I'm a historian, of course. But I definitely can speak quite a bit. So yeah. Um. Question 26. Do you keep any sort of notepad, Excel sheet for fixes or future updates and perhaps other creations you had in mind? He says, probably not. However, sometimes I have new ideas in my mind, but I cannot sit in front of my computer. They soon usually disappear from my brain when I pay attention to other things. However, this does not mean that I would not do anything for any unexpected bugs or fixes since new patches release and obviously the new bugs occur or new features introduced and they are suitable for my method renewal or update. Well, by all means, make a notepad or even an Excel sheet from hey, I gotta do this and this and this and this. And since the new patch is out and especially a new overhaul for the Navy has happened, I must rework nearly all of my custom campaign and arsenal. Now, moving on, he himself, I've asked him this: do you have questions for me? And he himself has given me 4 questions, and I shall answer them wholeheartedly. He says this: have you tried some creations like making a scenario or even a campaign? It can be other games, not only just AoE2. You're actually the first that has asked me about it, and I'll definitely eagerly answer you. I have personally not created anything in Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. Nor have I created anything within the um, extended edition of Age of Mythology Night Retold, but I have created quite a few things within Age of Mythology. You know, the regular one when it used to be on CDs and all that. I definitely created quite a few maps of my own with how I fantasize Kempset to be, in my opinion. But it was definitely interesting takes as well. Um, it was really fun in that scenario. Kempset was just not killed or murdered. He escaped and he just done some other things. He rebelled and eventually he sold out his old master, so to say, and he then eventually dethroned a monarch, for example, something like that. I've done such kind of scenarios. I've made quite a few maps, but that was on my very old PC. I had like a Dell PC at that time, so I don't have those maps and all that around anymore too. But that is what I made, and for in Age of Empires 2, especially around that time as well, I was also still fascinated about the Ottoman time too, and especially in the Dutch time too, where I had for example, for the Ottomans, I made quite a few designs and missions there. Well, not real missions. I just like did like a random regeneration map there, and I just like placed quite a few Ottoman strongholds and all that. Well, not strongholds, like two, three strongholds, especially around Salonik and Constantinople, for example. And from there on, and I made many of those little towns, which I saw as the Balkans. And then I made like a lot of cavalry and all that. And I said, okay, it's time for you to start conquering these lands. With four of the most known um, Akunja Corp families. Because once again, I've always mentioned, I'll say it again, the four Akunja Corp's families, for example, the Mihal sons, the Malkuch sons, and many more of those families whose names I've forgotten, were responsible for the border guard duty for the Ottoman Empire, and they were also responsible to, you know, cause raids, defeat big armies, especially from Serbians and all that, who they have defeated and all that. And, you know, it always interested me. But sadly, those campaigns are not there too. Or the time I also made quite a lot of, um, how should I say, something like close to Willem from Oranje campaign. But then I made a lot of castles, especially my hometown Tiel. I made that too. Because back in there was a whole different like wall, right? We had a wall over here, and literally something like a keep over here, and like some small towns and some small farming villages and all that around us. And that is what I did too. I mentioned that, and then I just put myself as top of it as king and called me a Kemzit. And you know, I imagined like, hey, we're getting invaded by the French and the Germans, and then up north and the English, and we had to repel them from there on. We just fought for our own freedom. That is how I imagined, because that is in fact how Netherlands has also established. We have always been contesting both the French, both the Germans, both the English as well. The English on sea with the colonial power stuff and all that, even the Spanish, who eventually also started to, you know, screw around with us, or the Germans and the French. Like I said, it's just, yeah, very great and all. And sadly, I don't have it, but hope this answers your question. For this, I've not really done any more editor kind of thingy. I think I. Mm, oh yeah, I think I've also done a little bit editing in Stronghold Crusader. Yeah, at that time too. Yeah, bless me. I've done a lot of that too. I made quite a few nice keeps as well from their design as well for myself as a nice campaign. But then I did it as me playing a Saladin and all that. And, you know, I was like, okay, here we stop those Crusaders, or as a big Crusader kind of knight. But then, you know, around Cyprus, it was quite a nice thing to do as well. But yeah, moving to the next question. What factor drives you to make content on social media or platform that you are willing to interest? Wait, what? What factor drives you making content on social media or platform that you're willing to that you're willing to? Interest, a chance in life, or inspiration? Um, for me, my story begins, especially my YouTube story began, all thanks to my friend Music Man, um, whose channel I'm still subscribed to. It's now turned to the Strategic Symphony. Um, Back in the day, both me and him were part of a community which I started. You know, I used to be leading some regiments in the Mountain Blade Napoleonic Wars community. And you know me, there be it good or be it bad, but you know, it was a pleasant time. And through him, he made a lot of you know, videos regarding gameplay and all that. And I was like, hey, I could actually want to do that too, be it alone or be it with other people. And I was like looking at the time what was really lacking. And at that time, multiplayer kind of things were really lacking, especially with requested series. So I was like, okay, let's go for that. To also mention, like, I always also enjoyed how people made those playthroughs, especially at the time Viper and all that was around, and Dowd too. And I was like, okay, I want to do that things too. And I started doing that even with my shitty Dell PC. And thus I started my journey. And now, you know, from where I am, when I look back, I've definitely made a lot of improvements, and definitely I've been making lots of videos and series. You know, regarding a lot of games that I've tried out, from Oxbox to Republic of Pirates, Medieval Crafter Spear Song. I've made a lot of new videos. Alien Tale Tavern, Eldorado, the Golden City Builder, First Dwarf, Monster Run, Downfall of the Empire, Garage Flipper, Bloodbath Tycoon, Sancticide, Monarchy, Warlords Battle Simulator, Petlands, Builders of Greece, Blacksmith Simulator, and Skystead Ranch, Fluffy Sailors, the Ultra of Ulukain game, Revenge of the Mage, Union of Gnomes, The Last Kings, Water Park Simulator, Mall Simulator. All these games that I've tried out as keys were granted to me by developers, and still some games that I also still want to continue on, be it with Water Park Simulator, for example, or Revenge of the Mage. Fluffy Sailor was also one of the games that I've really enjoyed too. Skystat 2, even though there was a lot of lag there. Same for Air Tool of Lucane. And then we had Petlands. Even though I didn't really like it, it didn't really touch me. And Warlords Battle Simulator, I'm definitely gonna try to continue. Monarchy one's a nice game, but I couldn't get in touch with it. Sancticide, I liked it too. And its release, I've not still played it too. Bloodbath Tycoon, I still have to finish it. Garage Flipper was also nice, but I couldn't continue on. Monster and Downfall of the Empire, I finished it and really enjoyed it a lot too, and highly recommend anyone to go forward. First Dwarf, it's still constantly getting new development and thingy going forward, and I still will continue on doing that. Eldorado, the Golden City build, I finished, and it was really, really great. Alien Tale Tavern, it's a really nice game. I still have to continue it with Lynn as well eventually, or on my own, or if anyone else will to do so. And like I said, Spear Song was a nice game too, but it didn't touch me too much. Republic of Pirates, definitely nice game. I enjoyed it too. Finished it. Oxbox, a nice game, but I couldn't play it too much myself. And then we have also many more other games. For example, Floatstorm, which you have to continue. Terrascape, which I also had a lot of pleasure, but even then, that game was not much of my kind of game. But it's still nice, especially for those who are very good with puzzling. Yeah, so yeah, there's still so many more other companies starting to contact me in compared to the past, which once again I'm very honored to try and showcase their games to you, and that is something I always wanted to do and drives me forward, even inspires me to do this, even with Dawn of Defense game, which I'm gonna eventually make more videos about and represent to you guys. And there's many more that will be coming, so long you guys keep up with the support, um, and I'll continue doing. And by the way, a few more game names that I have to mention that I've also tried to showcase to games. For example, the e-commerce simulation, which I personally did not like too much, or what game was it? I'm trying to find this game to mention towards you guys. Pow Pow, for example, it was a very nice game. I'm gonna still play that more eventually too. Even the creators have also sent me souvenirs all the way from their studios within Moldavia, which once again I'm very honored to be had. Um, that also said, for example, I'm gonna also continue on with, maybe I think I'll try to play more Game Stonks. I'm not sure. It was a nice game, but I don't. Yeah, it hasn't really touched me too much. But other than that, there's also a lot of requested series within the Total War, Hammer, and Total War create. You know, uh, um, not Troy Pharaoh community that still want me to continue even Warhammer 2, and that's what we're gonna do. Or the Lost Kings, for example, what we'll do too. But there's also still two companies waiting to me to show their game, even one from China, and I hope you to check it out as well. But enough with me trying to flex over here. My apologies, but this is like a journey that has started to happen last year and this year, especially like for 2.5 years by now. And back in the day, I usually only played a lot of these campaigns because these campaigns inspired me, and I always enjoyed history too much too. Especially Age of Empires Stronghold was really my most favorite game, and played it in my own way. Even Total War, many people despise ultra results, but I say, hey, it's just still a mechanic, and that's how I'm gonna play. If you don't like it, you can feel free to go away and do something else. But at times I've also started to play some campaigns there. Also done some requested series with some custom campaigns within mods. So that is what I did too in Total War, and that drives me forward, and that keeps up my how should I say, my my videos and all that. And thanks to everyone, it has been a true pleasure. Because, like I said, many of my videos has been either getting 10, 20, 30, 40 views. Some have even, like, especially for example, my Sea of Thieves tutorial videos, like, got 25K views. For my Mountain Blade Bannerlord series, especially there, sorry, there's like 18 views. Or my Empire Earth game, that's also one of my childhood game, got 15K views and even more. And Praetorians 12K. And again, that means so much to me. Not many people understand that, but it means so much and inspires me to more. And it's just support overall that helps me to move forward. And some videos get zero, and some videos do. So yeah, hopefully that answers elaborately the second question. We'll move on to the third question. Do you think the first Chronicles DLC means a good or bad beginning for AoE2 development? It introduced a lot of new features and triggers like R effects, new in its mechanics like load to build, double training poison, and sustain damage. It also made the game no longer simple by just remembering the counter ability between units, but make players harder to realize what ability the new units have after several Chronicles DLCs like release. Um, here I'm here I'm rather conflicted because we can still see, be it from the Three Kingdoms DLC or the Chronicles from the Battle of Greece, and um, let me take the other one, the Chronicles of Alexander, for example. Here is what I feel overall. I think they're good, right? I think they're good influence to the game. The only thing, this is what I've also mentioned, especially in the Lost Chieftains DLC, as I also left a review about it, is that it honestly leaves a bad impression so far. Because I'm sorry to say this, but it proves the point that they can make more missions, right? And me as a consumer, I only care about consuming. I only care not only just overall as a consumer, because I'm not like an average consumer. I'm a consumer who cares more about better representation, be it the character, be it the history, be it about what they create overall, the theme, be it about how they make the challenges and the balance, just like you said, be it the triggers, be it the unit, be it the R effect, be it the poison thing. And I think it is very innovative and very a daring step, but it's still very concerning because I'm sorry to say this, but I personally do not really like the R effect. I feel it is a little bit too overrated kind of function, and it feels it makes it very hard because I'm sorry to say this, but why make heroes only for Three Kingdoms series but not for the others? That feels a little bit unfair and feels like a little bit too much of um how should I put it respectfully? I don't want to swear over here, even though it has come to my mind, but I just currently struggle so much to say it without swearing. But I feel like the Three Kingdoms DLC hero concept is, like I said, very unfair, and it spits like on the many other civilizations that we have who do not have heroes as well. Like, I'm sorry, you're giving a hero for Liu Bei, Cao Cao, Sun Quan, but what about Joan of Arc then? What about, I don't know, Richard the Lionheart? Where is Saladin? Or we could say that too. Why not make these kind of heroes? Like I remember that when we had those heroes, they just started from peasant. It was properly represented, right? And that is how Joan of Arc was, for example, represented. But for in the Three Kingdoms concept, it felt like it's a bit too overpowering, and forces us to you know you know make us dependable on it, and that's just not a great mechanic. I understand they want to introduce different mechanics and catch the community's attention, but I don't think that's the way they just should. I think the way that they could have better invested their time and resources, especially the money, is to make a bit more different civilizations. Because I'm sorry, but the Three Kingdoms DLC, I don't like it. The Khitans and Georgians should be a respective and a dependable civilization of their own. And Shu, Wu, and Wei, I'm sorry, but they're just kingdoms. They're not like different ethnicities. Even though that North, South, and West China have again different um, subcultures in China, but they're not really represented that well too. Because I'm sorry to say, but there's something that is called Han Chinese, traditional Chinese, and whatever Chinese over there that could have been represented instead of three major kingdoms, which is solely just only made to implement as a how should I say um how should I say, as a cosmetics for the campaign, but then you also implement them into the competitive community. That was shunned upon heavily. It made them so frustrated, and that frustration is ousted on the single player creation, single player community, which causes a big clash, in my opinion, and something that should not have been done. This has made such a frustrating moment, in my opinion. As for the same thing for the Battle of Greece, I don't know why they made those pole marks and all that. Sure, commanders have been inspiring and all that, but that aura felt like once again overrated too. Same thing with the town center kind of thing. I personally did not like it either. It does not really suit well within the Age of Empires thing. Call me a simpleton or whatever you want regarding my opinion in this, but I did not like it. The only thing that I do agree and am fine with is the poison damage. It's a nice innovation. Um, and I think it is well balanced. It's okay. Same thing with fire damage. With the fire arrows, I don't really think it's very that good, honestly. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I just don't really feel very welcoming that thing. But other than that, I definitely enjoyed the double training and all that. I'm fine with like a quick mastering of harmonies and all that too. And the new features, especially the triggers, regarding how, like I always praised, the city at the world's edge is definitely a great campaign mission, which we see very less. And I honestly, I'm pleading everyone who hears me saying this, please make more of these kind of missions, because it was so amazing see those animations and all that and such greatness. I felt like I was playing any of those city builder kind of games, be it like Caesar or Pharaoh or Builders of Egypt and all that. Children of the Nile, like thing. It felt so great, honestly. I really liked it. I enjoyed it so much. I really did. And I think many of those leaders in the history would have done the same as well. Like anyone would. And yeah, I think um the development will go better with this. The only thing is what I feel like also is also something that we have also spoke about with Christophorus is the way that they've also started to portray the artwork, especially the main menu. I don't really like that one because it takes such a long time to try and load in. It's not really that balanced as well, and I did not really like how they did that decision making thing because in Lost Chieftains, I'm sorry to say this, but why do you do it only like for three campaigns mission? Let me show you here. Like, why do you make that? I didn't really like it. Send them over here. So as you can see, I'm clicking. It takes a little bit of time to take load in. Sure, this flashy point is nice and flashy and offers like a little bit of a slice of life, but I think it's a bit unnecessary and takes so much time and resources, which could be spent in doing some other things, especially making the game a little bit more balanced. Because I'm sorry to say this, but I didn't really like Lautaro's campaign nor El Dorado. I definitely liked Arariboya a lot. Lautaro felt like a little bit of a very taxing mission to play through, especially regarding how the missions had to be played out. El Dorado was fine too, but even there, it was very, I don't know, it didn't felt like like, we got what we were promised, that there was so much of decisions and differences that we could make, honestly. It didn't feel like that. And like I also mentioned in El Dorado, you could have also chosen after like the first mission to whom you're gonna join with And even after that choose, that choice, I chose to stay loyal, for example, and these were my missions. Like, why is there no separate bar showing here? This is what happens when you do, so that you have easy replayability and a different kind of missions, right? That is what I definitely wanted to do. So I don't know why they did this, and it's just so frustrating, in my opinion. I didn't really agree with that. So I'm just gonna also try to also make one day a video about this too, with El Dorado, that I redo this kind of thing as well in the moderate difficulty. But even here, the campaign felt quite a bit of challenging too, and I don't really like it. And like I said, decision thingy, you started with first, second, third, there's none, fourth, there's none, and the fifth, there's none. Arariboya, first, there's one. Second, there was one. Third, there's none. Fourth, there's none. Well, fourth, there is. And then the fifth. But that feels like, okay, we have three decisions here, two decisions here, and then there's just like what? One here, two here. The third, there's none. Fourth, there's none. And fifth. So Arariboya has like three decisions and they have two. But when we're gonna look into China, China has like nearly everywhere. I'm sorry to say this, but decisions here: one, two, three, four, five. But even, yeah, I don't know. It didn't feel well. And like I said, even all these guys have ended the same thing in the Battle of Red Cliffs. And Sun Quan, this is also something that I've spoken with Black Knight as well. Sun Quan started shining far later around, especially around the Suma times, when Sima Yi has like overtaken the crown of the north. And both Sun Quan's clan has definitely started to still clash. Eventually, they also were consolidated. Liu Bei, he has also a lot of different battles that are being represented over here, or very much different people instead of only Zhuge Liang. Um, even Pang Tong, for example, or how he has conquered the Riverlands and all that. But it was just so few things, and the way that this artwork looks, it just looks a little bit sloppy. I don't really like it too much, honestly, especially these things. But the rest, I'm fine with it. But this is also a little bit unnecessary. It just means a bit too much beautifying, too much glorifying this a bit, even though it felt, in my opinion, just too sloppy. Sure, it's respectable and nice for the Chinese community, but me, as a concern of those, especially for the Chinese people, not that I want to like stand up for them, but I don't like it, because if they would have made something of my own community, especially the Netherlands, which are not that much of a part of this game, sadly, too, I would want them to do it a bit more differently and all that. I still respect their choices and will, but I don't really like it. And if we're gonna look back to the Chronicles of Rome, um, I'm definitely happy with it. I don't mind, especially with the artwork and all that over here. This is just really great, and there's so many of these kind of missions over here which one can through. I'm just sad that there's not just more right now, and only that we're still stuck with the Archimedeans and the Athenians, for example, too, and you know the Spartans over here. And this already shows like they have been able to make 21 missions over here, and when we're gonna go to the Alexander the Great kind of missions, we have 18 over here. Some videos were short, focused on battles, and some were like mostly just storytelling kind of missions and all that, and you didn't have much time to play, which is okay. But I personally would like to have a little bit more playness and something, a journey that I can also try to go through, right? That is also what was saddening, and that it was also saddening that we mostly played Macedonians. Even if Alexander was the main protagonist, I still want to have a little bit more of a feeling with the Puru, for example, too. Or the same thing with the Thracians, and that was just really lacking. So yeah, I don't know. It felt very sad, and like I said, even in the first mission, I felt like that we could have had a little bit more of even more of his um, Alexander's prime time. For example, his youth, even when he was, being um, tutored by what was his name? I forgot his name. Let me just quickly check out. I remembered it, but he was also tutored by here. I'll just I have to, because I really forgot it. Yeah, there we go. Aristotle. Yeah, there we go. He's his thing was not really shown that much too, and they definitely did um had a lot of important things that were mentioned as well, and he was teached as well with horsemanship as well too. And there is a campaign in Empire Earth regarding that, and it's really sad that Age of Empires did not really have that too. So I honestly would have really liked to have that kind of thing to hear. um but in short, like I said, it would have been really great if these campaigns, for example, the South Americans had that too, right? Especially in El Dorado, you can definitely make 5 more missions, or 4 more missions over here to create and make an easier replayability. Honestly, that is my biggest concern over here. But yeah, that's what I see overall. Like I said, I still see a good future, a good, nice stuff, and some things that are not. Like I said, the hero kind of system, the arc kind of system is a little bit overrated, and I think not much of a good mechanic to add. The poison damage and all that, I think I personally welcome it, and like I said, the way that they implemented it with the decision, I think it's just not really used that well lately, and focuses are on the wrong area over here. But I still am hoping for a better future over here, and I think it will be. But time will tell, because we're still enjoying the new DLC, which is The Lost Chieftains, even though it has been receiving quite a lot of negativity over here, especially the reviews, which are like 48 percentage are positive, and even the recent new reviews are like 39% are good. And today, this year, just like 2 months ago, we have received this new DLC. So I don't think we're gonna get anything new unless they're already starting to cook and try to make. But if they do, please, by all means, take your time and all that. And if you're gonna make something new, please focus on those antiquity areas. um Especially, for example, with the successor kingdoms from Alexander the Great, or even past that, or more campaigns regarding the, not just Battle for Greece and all that, but also the Persians or anywhere else, right? That is something I definitely want to have more, and that they are portraying these kind of civilizations in the name is very more good. Um, and I definitely think that Return of Rome was not a good idea either, too. If we're ever gonna wonder, they could have done better too. But yeah, and that is also something we can also see from the reviews over here, so let us be hopeful. And yeah, moving on to the fourth question and the last one: what campaigns you expect the most that can be released in this game? It can be already released one, so why it can be that one? If not, why do you expect? uh that's a difficult question. I have no expectations in regard of any kind of campaign released in the game. Um, but I did talk with uh thingy quite a lot, Christophorus, about this as well, and I will still say it. Like I've mentioned previous, I am still hoping for a continuation of the Chronicles series, to have some more campaigns regarding that, because like I said, many people enjoyed the way that these campaigns were released and represented, compared in the definitive edition as well. So I think maybe the developers will start only offering Chronicles kind of campaigns for the single player community, and stop releasing different civilizations, so that the competitive side will start simmering down, I think, and they will still earn money through here, I guess. I had to drink some water, sorry. But I think there will be more coming up, maybe Egypt, you know, pre Roman time, and maybe any of those successor kingdoms coming forward, or maybe something like Troy, I think. Um, but this is what I'm pondering upon as well. Something like Troy Chronicles as well, for example. I'm not sure if it will be, but if it will be, I really hope they're going to be making it very good too, because there's not much of that over here inside this community, even though that is also possible too. But then I also want to definitely have like different factions. For example, the Lycia faction, with Troy, and the northern little kingdoms as well, which can be represented, in my opinion, as the Thracians, and the Athens, the Spartans, and then you had also the others as well, far north, with Odysseus' kingdoms as well. um I just forgot them out of my head, but I have definitely, like I said, read many of those books. But it will be very great to have them represented too, right? um Other than that, I definitely hope that we're going to get some different campaigns as well, especially for example in even far more South Africa, right? Right, with the Zulu, for example, or any of those Somalians or Swahili coast around tribes, or the Congolese factions as well, right? This is also something that many of the people within the community, even in Reddit, have already mentioned, willing and want. Or Central America, for example, or around a little bit of North America too. Be it with the Cherokee, the Iroquois, something that we see in Age of Empires 3 too. And that will be really interesting. This is also something I've mentioned in the past, or something about the Tibetans, and even more north of Mongolia, around a little bit on the far left, because there's so many of these tribes there too who have also contributed to a lot of goodness too. And also more from the Indonesian archipelago, because not only the Dravidians, the Gujaras as well, there's a lot more other groups in India and Siam and so on that can be represented. Even somewhere in Australia, these kind of Aboriginal kind of cultures that could be added and made. For example, the Maori people or Maori people. I'm sorry to say and mispronounce, of course, but that will be very great too. And like I've also mentioned as well before, around the question regarding the Vikings, a separate DLC for the Vikings with Norwegian, the Scandinavian, like the Swedes and Danish, and you know all those other subfactions will be very more greater too, and something I would really like to have. And what I also want, a proper Dutch culture too, because we don't really have anything to that, and I feel that we're being a little bit misrepresented, or not even represented at all, even though we're very influential over here. Like, I think we as the Dutch have been very um successful in means of survival and striving to keep up our own ethnical presence around in Europe, honestly. So that is something that I would like to have. Or, for example, Switzerland. There's so many other cultures here in Europe, even that could be shown and can be seen also back in the day of thing. And even as well, for example, the Teutons. Like, I mean, sure, it's nice, but there are so many of these separate Germanic kingdoms that can be annexed, such as the Saxons or the Swabians and all that. It is something that has also been shown in regards to a mod. I think it was Age of Empires. Uh, there was this mod. I remember who did that very good too. To represent it with some voice acting too. I forgot. Wait, let me just quickly show it to you. Age of Empires 2. Mods with save overhaul, because I was trying to find it previously. Um, because I used to play this game as it was really a big overall, and there was like a lot of voice acting too. And I remember I played a lot in Age of Empires 2 when it was still new and all that, and we had like lots of those um little civilizations. Even Dutch were there too. Well, in some form way. Um, I'm gonna try to find it. I'm trying to search it. But yeah, no, I honestly would like to have like more of these kind of thingies and all that. And I remember even back in the day when I was still playing the HD edition, I use a lot of these new HD units terrain mod as well. But it was like this mod, which name I've really forgotten because it was ages, but it was such a great mod. Um, I'll try to find it. You know what? I'll try to find it and um here. You know, I can't find it. Pity. But yeah, honestly, like I said, it will be really good because, for example, even the Croatians, it's something that is also made by Hideout. For example, I really would like to also have like maybe other separate cultures, especially around the Balkans, not just Bulgarians and uh, um, Hungarians and all that. I want to also have some different cultures from there too. And I think the Willem van Oranje was very nice made by Shimakaze, but honestly, in my taste, it was just a bit too hard. Um, wait, I think I found it. There we go. Yeah, I think I do. Hold on. Age of Chivalry, I think. Yeah, I think it was called Age of Chivalry. I think. No, 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 no. Wait, wait. No, not that. Not that. It was. Yeah, I was trying to find it. I thought I found it. No, that's not it. No, I think I'll. Yeah, you know what? I'll find it. But I'm just gonna conclude the video. I think. Um, I'm trying to find that damn thingy. Yeah, no, I can't find it. You know what? We'll just stop it over here. Like I said, I still want to have it, and many people obviously will not agree with this because many people will say, yeah, they're just incorporated by the Burgundians and all that. I'm sorry, but they were not entirely. The Dutch were someone who were a bit more independent, but they were a vassal state towards the French and the Burgundians as well at times. But they still were a own empire, and they still cooperated and introduced their own laws and all that at time. So it will be far more better because Age of Empires 2 has muskets or well hand cannons and all that too. And at the time we were already also butting up with England and all that. And it's the campaign that we also see with Willem from Oranje. So I kind of find it very strange. And like I said, there's many more other things that I could do. I also wish a nicer campaign regarding Tamerlane or even the Ottoman Empire, the Seljuks as well, or a better campaign with Japan, Korea, because there's not much land battles as well, especially the most historically changing campaigns through there, and many more around the other parts of the world. But that's just wishful thinking. Um, but overall, I think it will be nicer to have these kind of campaigns, especially antiquity. Late antiquity will be very interesting. For me, that's my top one priority memoir at the moment, especially with the Chronicles. Outside the Chronicles, I definitely want a little bit something with Dutch. Um, and yeah, what else we'll see. I can't say too much as well because I'm still hoping. Um, to see in our future. But yeah, thank you everyone for here. I'm gonna try to leave a comment below after I've all spoken with Ilum to offer you guys his Discord server if you want to contact him. And once again, thank him for spending time and everyone else over here for listening to this video. And for those who wanna, check out the mod that I was talking about, I'm gonna still try to search it and leave it to you guys to check it out if I can find it, and if not, then by all means, it's okay. And I'll post it down below too. But besides that, take your time. We're gonna have more interviews coming up as soon as possible too, and more different games that I'm gonna play, as I said. And I hope these questions were answered. And once again, thanks for these questions too, as well towards Ilham. And yeah, with that said, I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, give a like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new and wish to support it. Do you want to recommend something we're going to game together? That is possible as well. Just write down comments box below or join the Discord server so we can have a chit chat about it. And until then, I'll see you all later.